Well, we're obviously hoping that there'll be a COVID-19 vaccine available in South Africa as soon as possible. Some people in Europe and the US are now getting vaccinated, but how do you go about deciding if the vaccine will actually work? I'm joined now by the CEO of the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, Dr. Boitumelo Semete-Makokotlela. Doctor, good afternoon to you. Firstly, where do you start? What kind of process are you going to follow to examine any applications for a COVID-19 vaccine here?
Sure. So the process is such that we will receive the data that the companies would have. So a process that we've implemented, which aligns with what other regulators globally are doing, is what we call a rolling review. So the applicants will be submitting their data to us, and we've met with them. We've indicated what the minimum requirements are, and we will do what is called a rolling review. So as they get this data, they provide it to us. And this is a very different approach that we've taken as regulators globally to ensure that we enable access to vaccines.
I was going to say, because vaccines normally are for children, and there's normally quite an established process. I mean, the vaccine for measles that I had could have been quite similar to the one my parents had and similar to the one my children have had. In this case, we want to vaccinate adults, and we want to do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And I think it's because of the need for us globally to have a vaccine. I mean, if you look at some of the scientific data around for us to limit the transmission of this disease, we would need to get population vaccinated at least to a level of about 60% per population, because herd immunity will just not give us that. So there is an importance that if we are not to have these repeated waves of infection, we will need to ensure that we've got a vaccine available. So there is a race to have these made available. But for us as a regulator, the key thing and the key message we want to send out is that there is no compromise from the regulatory requirements of safety, quality, and efficacy. So we remain to be a very, very stringent regulator when it comes to those aspects.
So, I mean, you've got to do a lot more things more quickly and in a different way than we've ever had to do before. You're not the only ones in this position. You people in your field around the world are doing this. How do you then make sure that they're still safe? And I realize that, I mean, I asked an expert on this the other day. I don't know if you would confirm what they say. In South Africa, we've actually never had a case of a bad vaccine.
Yeah. So the key thing, again, it speaks to the stringency of our regulator and the quality of regulation that we apply, and that we work with our experts to make sure that we review the scientific data quite thoroughly. So what we've done as SAHPRA, we've put together a working group that we've been working with now over the last few months. And these are scientific experts in the country who are reviewing the data as we speak. But also, we're not only reviewing that now. One of the aspects that is a key requirement of any vaccine that would be made available is what we call post-market surveillance. So we've put in place mechanisms for the healthcare professionals, but also for the public to report any adverse side effects. And once, any product is made available, the regulatory process does not stop. So we will continue to monitor these vaccines as they are available.
So there are other countries, as you know, that have approved, and also on an emergency basis, they've approved this vaccine for distribution to their populations. Do you share data with them? I mean, I can't imagine the scientific WhatsApp groups that there must be at the moment, but I would imagine that people are sharing all kinds of information with each other.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work sharing. There's also what we call reliance, wherein as a global community, we've entered into partnerships where we say, the data that is made available, say, to the WHO can also be made to SAHPRA. So we are, in essence, whenever an application is made, we're reviewing the same type of data. But also what WHO has coordinated is experts from different countries to participate in a collaborative review that they would be running. So we do have some of our SAHPRA staff members and some of our experts in the country participating in that. So there's these different mechanisms, but it's really a global effort to ensure that we, expedite the review by having a very strong global scientific community assist in the review of this data.
Have we had any applications yet? Have you had any applications yet to distribute this in South Africa?
So, typically as a regulator, we would say, yes, we've got an application, and we wouldn't give away names. But because of the importance of, response, and also giving the public confidence that we really are staying on top of, the regulatory space and staying on top of any developments, but also wanting to ensure that we're an enabler we've taken a decision to share. So we do have a single application. So far, it's by J&J. We've had many discussions with other manufacturers, and that this is what we call pre-submission discussions, where we go into detail in terms of what are the minimum requirements for the data that's required, because it is important that we constantly engage with them. And this is not just new to us as SAHPRA. Some of you may be aware that with the Pfizer vaccine, FDA had quite an open forum where anyone could join and listen into the conversation. So as regulators, we're trying to be as open as possible because of the concerns that are coming through from the public to say, is this safe? Are we compromising or not? It's really to illustrate that none of us as regulators are going to compromise on safety, quality, and efficacy.
And I mean, I realize that, you know, there's nothing hard and fast about this, but roughly how long does it take, do you think? How long will it take under the system, the sort of rolling regulatory system that you've told us about, to actually, you know, go from application, getting the data, looking at the data, to making a decision? And I can't imagine the stress and the strain of all of that. I think we might have lost the feed there. Yeah, it does seem that we've lost the feed there, unfortunately. That's Dr. Boitumelo Semete-Makokotlela. She is the CEO of the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. Really important conversations that will come out of that as well.